Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to EIG's 95th webinar, a supply chain discussion focused on the electronics industry. Dani Kaplan from SMC Data and Greg Schlegel from the Supply Chain Risk Management Consortium are our featured guests today, and we look forward to an active discussion. Please do keep your questions in the chat and keep joining. And of course, we hope that your family are healthy and safe. This is the third webinar in our series addressing risk resiliency and supply chain challenges in the electronics industry. And our focus is to accelerate the readiness of implementing ERP, warehouse management systems that drive real-time visibility and control optimization in your business. However, we want to, moreover, should say, we want to leverage best practices based on our years of experience in developing capability maturity models, ensuring that the return on investment of the ERP and WMS upgrades meet your requirements. We will be sharing many best practices throughout, and if you have any thoughts or comments, please do make them in the chat. We will offer you these best practices, and we would appreciate if you would reach out to us if you have any questions or comments, and we would love to connect with you to create a financial return on investment model for your company. It is by utilizing best practices combined with ERP functionality that you can make fantastic improvements in your business. We look forward to an interactive session today and your feedback. With that, little introductions. Dani, a little bit of your background.
I'm Dani Kaplan. I represent supply chain software, manufacturing distribution food. It's a single database software. It enables a manufacturer by distributor, distributed by a manufacturer. And the food can be both. They are based in Ronkonkoma, Long Island, 200 employees, and nationwide in Caribbean, Canada.
Okay. And with that, Greg looks to be disconnected, maybe some IT problems. Just give you a brief background on Greg. Greg founded the consortium in 2010. He comes from a background of working at IBM, and he worked at Apex and was president of Apex ASCM. He wrote the book Supply Chain Risk Management and Emerging Discipline, published in 2015, and he is an active teacher of supply chain risk management and with a vast experience in supply chain management. My background is in supply chain risk management and operational excellence. And EIG, our group, is an exchange of passionate experts to guide your transformation to provide self-generating and self-funding results. With that, I'll kick it off with the deliverables today is to address real-life experiences and case studies, helpful hints to get started in addressing your challenges, and how to address challenges with best practices in ERP capabilities. That's really the crux of this. How do we combine best practices so that your ERP implementations are fast and very effective? We want to demonstrate how our best practices modules have transformed companies to drive revenue growth and increase margin. And then we'll get into the power of the integrated real-time data with the best practices. With that, a little bit of background on the consortium. Greg.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, somehow I dropped. Thanks a lot for attending. I'll give you a quick thumbnail sketch of who we are and what we do. We've been in business for about 13 years. We have 32 companies and 1,700 supply chain pros around the world. On the right-hand side, we break out our products and services into 3 pillars. We do a lot of education. We do supply chain risk and resiliency consulting, And over on the right-hand side, you can see we have a host of software as a service solution companies who focus their attention on supply chain risk and resiliency. On the left-hand side, we have our 5 product areas. We have 2 certificate courses, online, self-paced, kind of MBA courses. One is for manufacturers, the other is for public health care and services. We do a lot of coaching and consulting. We have a supply chain risk and resiliency solution platforms. And essentially, we have 2 new online assessments. One we're going to talk about today in the blue. That's our supply chain management online readiness assessment. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And our newest one is prescriptive online risk, pure risk, 90-day action plan. It identifies your risk maturity as a company, your risk appetite, and your risk culture, all using AI and ML algorithms. So that's a quick thumbnail sketch, and I'll turn it back to Jim.
Dani? Dani?
Yes. You blocked my video, Jim.
No, you just have to turn it on, Dani.
We have ERP software with warehouse management software. It's totally integrated, one-stop shopping. So you don't have to buy a standalone warehouse software that result in integration issues. It's standalone. It's integrated. It has distribution, manufacturing, food, and it's real time. Everything is real time, include the IBM Cognos.
Okay. Just a little background on how all this fits together. The way we look at it is the ERP enables your organizations to make better decisions, analytic analysis of your business functions, and redefining your execution goals. So putting this together, that's what we can help you with. Enhance International Group, linking strategy to execution. A little bit of background as far as our webinars. We had a webinar 1 on food and beverage. The second was on automotive. Today is on electronics, and our final webinar in the series is on distribution. With that, we'll go back to the polling question, and we appreciate your polling that you participated. It looks like we have a lot of different folks from around the world. Appreciate that. Thank you for participating. We're just going to move on to the agenda today. We'll get into the business challenges. We'll talk about the electronics industry, and then we'll get into best practices in navigating ERP implementation, operational ERP best practices to address electronics challenges, and then we'll get into case studies by Greg and Dani. With that, just a little bit of background. The electronics market is quite large, quite established, over $580 billion in 2022, and is growing at a CAGR at about 5%, 4.6%. They make about 1.3 trillion semiconductors are purchased in 2022. So quite a number of chips out there. And an interesting fact, 5,000 to 7,000 chips are required to make an electronic vehicle. Some of the key findings from Willis Towers Watson is that 61% of the businesses said the losses related to the supply chain have been higher or much higher than expected over the last 2 years. Of course, there's a lot of changes in supply of chips and today and in the future to overcome this. 43% named shortages of raw materials among the biggest supply chain factors. 79% said that they have made at least some improvements in their approach to supply chain management. With this, I'll turn it over to Greg and Dani to make their comments. Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Just when you look at the left side the equation here. I'll bring my video back. But you look on the left side of the equation, you know, they're feeling the pain, revenue losses, shortages, again, revenue losses. So, you know, there's a bit of a dip in the demand, even though there are more and more supply folks talking about building the building of a chip factory takes a couple of years to put together. The other comment I see is visibility. They're all talking about you know, enhancing their visibility, and on the bottom, on the bottom left, it really talks to resiliency, building a resilient enterprise. So with that, those are my quick hit thoughts on the left side of the data.
Dani, your thoughts?
The main issue I see is the is the cheap delivery manufacturing. What's happening now around the world with China and Ukraine creates a whole brand new reality of manufacturing plants are being moved to other countries, and that will create a big shortage and upheaval for a while.
Thank you, guys. And with that, some of the greatest opportunities in terms of enhancing supply chain. For this survey question, they asked the folks to rank their top three, and the top three were improved strategic planning with the organization, increased collaboration between you and customers, and increased collaboration between you and the suppliers. Greg, your comments?
Yeah, the top three, the first one grabbed me. That's strategic risk all the way. And the second and third are basically discussions about improving visibility. So stands to reason they are talking about strategic risk and visibility.
Dani, your thoughts?
The way I view is the 81% is the major issue, lack of data and knowledge and understanding who to buy, when to buy, and how much to buy. That creates a big challenge now, because what's happening if you don't plan right, you end up with shortages affecting production, distribution, and across the line.
Thanks, Dani. With that, we're going to keep moving to where the supply chain is focused in 23 and 24. Organizations will analyze costs and risk in depth. The domestic chip manufacturing will be promoted at all national levels, and we see that today. Chip shortages are expected to continue. New countries will enter into the semiconductor market. We can see that already with manufacturing being launched in the US and India, and supply chain challenges will be expected instead of overlooked. And go ahead, Craig, your thoughts?
Well, to me, it begs the question about, or at least profiles the statement of they all highlight supply chain risk, whether it's strategic, tactical, or operational, which we're going to talk about in a bit. So that's what I see out of this, out of these five.
Dani, your thoughts?
The biggest issue I see is number 4, new countries getting into semiconductor manufacturing, which should be quite a while before the factory we established and supply chain will come to a normal chain.
Thanks, Dani. With that, we'll keep moving and ask you guys, what are some of your current challenges? We see risk management here, shortages, late deliveries, rising costs. Dani, any additional thoughts on this, on challenges to summarize?
Yes, before Colvet, just in time was available, you told the vendor, give me the best price and drop it to the warehouse. Today is a different story. The cheapest vendor is not the best vendor. Reliability is a major issue, because if they don't deliver in time, it's production disruption.
Thanks. And Greg, your thoughts?
Yep, appreciate everyone more or less giving us some of their challenges. We've highlighted a few, but I think risk management tends to transcend across all, both strategic, tactical, and operational. And Sure, shortages, late deliveries, rising costs. If you're in electronics, you're not alone.
Greg? Danny, you there?
Yes, the rising
We lost
cost,
Greg again. Okay,
the rising cost will be a major issue now because it affects across the borderline. And a good example is the car industry. That cars prices are going out of control because of supply chain chip shortages.
thanks, Danny. With that, we'll keep moving. We'll come back to those challenges at the end of the section. Maybe just give you a little background of the semiconductor value chain. There's a lot of different players in the value chain, starting with material suppliers, with Dow, Hinkle, and even the companies I used to work in the air industry, Praxair, Air Products, all at the very beginning of the supply chain. And then next, the foundries, these are the TSMC, all the Taiwanese companies. Of course, the first chips were made in the US with Intel, and now NVIDIA is making chips. So a lot of changes happening in the marketplace, chip manufacturing starting in US and Japan. I just read in the paper today is starting up their own chip manufacturing. So everybody's going after making their own chips so they're not dependent on Taiwan. So there's a lot of mix, and the mix of chips is changing. So as capabilities get more and more complex and requirements change. So you have the AI industry needing chips, which is one group with NVIDIA, and then you have the classic chips that are being used in cars, and China making now the most electric cars in the world is gobbling up quite a number of chips. So this whole complexion has changed dramatically in the last 3 years. Then you have your contract manufacturers, and then your OSATs manufacturers, which are the original equipment manufacturers, are out there. So those are the guys that put everything together, assembly and test, OSATs, and then the OEMs, which we all know like the back of our hand, the Samsungs, the Lockheed, GEs, Apple, Dell, HP, and the like. Foxconn is actually a huge OEM that maybe a lot of us don't even know about. So then we get to the consumer side with Amazon, Walmart, Alibaba, and so forth. So it's a pretty complex supply chain. There's a lot of different players. You can have growth of 5% in one and growth rates of 20% in others. And of course, you can have downturns in certain marketplaces. So with that, Danny, your thoughts?
We are faced. It's hard to predict which way we are going to go until the supply chain issue settles down, because it's a gamble. You don't know who to buy from and how much to buy, because you don't know when it will come in time.
Thanks, Danny. With that, we'll move on to the next slide on the risk challenges. We broke them out from a strategic perspective. Again, moving from Taiwan and China to India and US manufacturing, that's more of a strategic horizon that we expect to see in the next 1 to 5 years, and even additional countries coming into play. Then from a tactical perspective, with the China, Taiwan Straits challenges and who owns China, or who owns Taiwan, I should say, and then these high band chips are required, memory chips are required and needed to support massive data centers to power AI applications. So that's a new market. And then at the operational level, you have, again, NVIDIA owning the AI market, and TSMC leading the electronics packaging market, and a lot of different changes there. So Danny, your thoughts?
It's a changing market now, and it's moving very, very quickly, and it'll be hard to predict which way it will go.
Great, thanks. So what we did is we were able to find the survey to align what are those supply chain vulnerabilities aligned to the question using the Willis Towers Watson surveys and a number of other surveys that we put together this summary to find out what are the biggest supply chain vulnerabilities, and they are listed in from highest to lowest here on this chart. And we see demand variability and sole sourcing, aging plants and equipment, lack of access to capital as some of the top challenges. And we will revisit this slide with our aligned supply chain risk management and VAI capabilities aligned to it in a few slides. With that, we'll recapped on the challenges. If you do have any additional challenges, we will address those throughout the webinar. With that, we're going to move on to best practices in navigating ERP implementation. And we'll kick it off with the Supply Chain Risk Management Consortium. I'll cover that for Greg. In today's reality, speed is life. That's why the Supply Chain Risk Management Consortiums developed a quick hit maturity assessment tool for your supply chain processes. It's the first approach to understanding your as-is condition of your entire supply chain. Once complete, you will get a visual profile of your process strength and weaknesses, and then we'll provide a couple of examples later on applications of this in electronics industries, and to drive good decision making in terms of what ERP modules will bring the biggest bang for your buck in terms of bottom line benefits. With that said, Dani?
Having integrated ERP, it's a major issue, because if you don't have integrated ERP, you have broken linked, and you have to know what to buy, when to buy, and how much to buy, and whom to buy. And the performance, it's a major issue, because you have to have real-time information of what you have what in stock, when its inventory will come in, and how to allocate it to.
Thanks, Dani. And I'll close it out from an EIG perspective. We are the Swiss Army knife putting everything together, and we will infuse those best practices within your organization, align your action planning, and providing you that real-time visibility and self-generating aligned improvements. And really, at the end of the day, what we will provide as a team here between the consortium, SMC Data, VAI, is we'll create a tailored implementation plan aligned to your business capabilities and priorities. So no matter where you're at, we'll bring you up to speed to where you need to be. With that, we're going to move to operational and ERP best practices to address electronic challenges. And with this, I'll cover this slide briefly for Greg in the supply chain management readiness assessment. And the assessment has 13 tenets. And in the bottom left, you see the spider diagram, and it will assesses where you are at today. And the closer you are to the center in performance on these 13 tenets, the closer you will be to the center. So if you have a low score, that means that you're performing very well. A high score means you have opportunities. And then between the 13 tenets, which area you need to focus on, we broke them down to strategic, tactical, and operational to align with your business requirements. So if you're really strong in strategic, you probably want to focus on operational, one of these different tenets. And so by assessing the performance, we provide that identification of your strengths and weaknesses to align with your ERP implementation. So performing this before you choose to do an ERP implementation The goal is to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are so that when your ERP implementation is performed, it's going to perform as you expect it. With that, let's turn it over to Dani.
It's a full suite of integration. Start with supply chain, customer portal, MRP, warehousing, accounting, all the way to remote location visibility, which translate to, in each location what you have inventory and what does the customer buys. It's a big issue today because in an M&A world, you end up with multiple ERPs, which result in lack of visibility in multiple locations. So one location is overstocked with inventory, the other one is understocked, and the user have to go to multiple ERP software, create a bottleneck. That's a full suite of manufacturing, distribution of food for include financial and has the POS. That translates to, if you have excess inventory, you can sell it in the shopping malls and the discount price. Also, a lot of manufacturers guarantee the product. So if it require repairs, the technician in the car has a laptop, can go to repair it and put what part was used, and the time spent on the job, and the customer gets charged instantly. It's a fully integrated software from manufacturing through distribution, through repair and rental.
Thanks, Dani. Just dealing with some technical issues. But keep going. Sorry.
This is an issue that people are facing now. And in the electronic industry, making stock to special orders, blanket order, future orders, and then the biggest issue is getting the product on time. Real-time information of keeping track of the serial number, because guaranteed item, you have to know if it's really still guaranteed, and the part number. This is a case of electronic companies that have achieved absolutely excellent performance over the cloud. It has multiple industries in it, one-stop shopping of distribution and manufacturing, and portal that translate to the portal that a rep can go and order the inventory online, or in the warehouse, instead of using a big clunky RF gun, you can use a smartphone. It costs $300-400 instead of $3,000 and require very little training. And the retail part is the ability to have a retail store and sell have it without having additional software. It's user friendly, and it does not require major training.
So in summary, so you have a little bit of background on both the consortiums and VAI's capabilities. We have the supply chain vulnerabilities in the third column, the modules, VAI modules in the first, and the readiness assessment in the middle column, and aligning to, I'll just look at the top two here, demand variability risk and sole sourcing risk. Greg, do you want to start us off with
You
your
bet.
thoughts on this?
Yeah. Am I coming through all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. We think our readiness assessment tenets line up quite nicely with the supply chain vulnerabilities, and between these two, and there are many more, the assessment tool can identify improvements, and that can be supported on the left-hand side by by the VAI modules. So we think it's a pretty good alignment when you go through all the supply chain vulnerabilities from the study. Our readiness assessment tenets, I feel, line up pretty well in terms of identifying issues, identifying process improvements that can be supported by the VAI modules. So,
thanks, Dani. Your thoughts?
Having real-time visibility is a very important factor, because unless you have the real-time visibility across the board, it's a big issue. The IBM Cognos Analytics, part of the software, gives you full-time visibility, what's in stock, when to buy, how much to buy, and whom to buy, and delivery timetable, so you don't run out of inventory.
Thanks, Dani. So were you answering Jua's question in the box, or just speaking in general? Because it looks like you answered it. So Jua, let us know if Dani answered your question. With that, we're going to keep moving here. Again, we have all the slides here, but you can see how we are aligned. Our offerings are aligned to the supply chain vulnerabilities to address each one by one. So Jua, not real time, but projected forward. Yeah. So I think you're getting real-time feedback. Projections is something different than forecasts, and projections are something different. Dani, can you comment on VAI's capability of doing forecasts and projections?
VAI's full forecasting software and projection, which enable to know where it is, what's in the inventory per item, per supplier, per availability.
Okay, thanks, Dani. With that, we'll move right on to the case studies. Keep the questions rolling in. And if you have further questions that are not answered here, please do follow up with us. Dani?
This is a typical example of a manufacturer, worldwide manufacturer with multiple ERP system. It has integration issue, and all kind of capabilities like that. It requires multiple ERP software, and that creates a habit in the manufacturing. Moving to VAI, the inventory error you can see drop by 80%, and that was a huge issue for them because the shift is worldwide. And then you can see the challenges. The vision was going fast. ERP was low, it had integration issues. They couldn't monitor the inventory, as they couldn't align the inventory. At this point with VAI, it's a one-stop shopping, full manufacturing and distribution suite with order entry and inventory that enable him to use one ERP software instead of multiple ERP software. That's another case study of a distributor this time with the integrated warehouse management. Before they bought VAI, they had huge issue with the inventory. Now, as you can see, they got quite a good result of return on investment. They have the retail module was an important issue for them because they had a separate software for it. And going for multiple ERP software, which include e-commerce, purchasing, retail module, they're one-stop shopping now, and they can work without having to hopscotch for one software to another software. As you can see, the substantial return on investment by having one ERP software. That's a summary of multiple clients of ROI. The first one I bought in 10 years ago, they were $100 million. Today they're $1 billion. Black River have achieved this kind of result in 2.5 years. And in 76, there were two people who buy who bought a VW van, today is $100 million. ADC, who is worldwide manufacturer distributor, which you can see impressive result. Autumn Hart has a standalone warehouse, which has an inventory mess. And Dorsey has the multiple software, and that's the result.
Thanks, Danny. Greg?
Yep, you bet. Thanks. Apologize for dropping out there. Wasn't able to provide some insights with a couple of slides, but this is one case study of an electronics manufacturer who has gone through our assessment tool. On the top left, we call this organization mainstream as it relates to best-in-class supply chain processes. You can see the calculation of 5.7. We call them mainstream, and the gauge, that's 5.7 out of 10. And essentially, I think Jim talked about the chart with the 13 tenets. You can see the blue tenets are what we call strategic. The red tenets on the right-hand side of the chart are tactical, and then the green on the left-hand side of the chart are operational. All right. So essentially, we've taken our 30 years of supply chain experience and about 13 years of risk management experience, and we developed this readiness assessment tool that provides two assessments. One, it evaluates your supply chain process maturity. Those are the 13 tenets. And two, it gives you an inherent risk associated with those 13 tenets. So you can see the 13 tenets. In our view, that represents a good end-to-end supply chain. The star chart is a maturity model depicting how mature a company's supply chain processes are, where I think Jim mentioned it. Remember, the lower the number, the more mature the process, and vice versa. So as you go through the 92 questions in the platform, you can see a company's response. It's the black line per tenant, all right? And again, remember, the farther away the responses are from the center, the less mature that supply chain process is at the time. Secondarily, we developed inherent risk levels in the model. And again, the farther away you are from the center, the higher the inherent risk. And you can see the three circles. Green are essentially where the best in class operate. That's minimum risk. From green to red is less mature and additional risk. And then at the red circle, we call it affectionately the ring of fire. If you're there or above, you have very immature processes, and you essentially have a higher level of inherent risk, okay? So on the top or on the bottom, or sorry, over on the right, from an output point of view, what do you get? You can assess your mature and immature processes. You can investigate and dig into those immature processes. You can reinforce and strengthen the mature processes. What does it do from a call to action? It identifies surprises and gets a discussion going. What does good like on the bottom? What does good look like on the bottom? Improvements being made and notable increase in maturity over time. And that's improvement to the bottom line. And the ultimate issue is it's free, folks. It's free. You can go in there, I think on the right, top right, we have a URL. And so it is free. What kind of further discussion comes out of going through the assessment? That basically is the next slide. Again, this is the electronics company. We considered it a mainstream organization. The first impressions from the client are these. It provided a comprehensive view of our supply chain. It exposed some real potential areas for further investigation, and it required true stakeholders, multiple disciplines, be involved in the process. What came about from an action plan? looked like this. It exposed their incomplete level of effort regarding risk mitigation. That got their attention. Demand management and integrated supply chain, that exposed some problem areas, and they said we're going to address those quickly. And one big surprise for them was their supply chain agility. They thought they were pretty agile going through the questions of discovery. They said this is a quick win for us, and we're going to exercise it as fast as possible in terms of an improvement. So that was back in 2020. So we wanted to share with you an electronics organization who has gone through the assessment. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Greg. And with that, we have this one of our closing slides, one of two closing slides, and this is on competitive benchmarking, and it's saying, what is it worth for you to increase your performance from a supply chain maturity perspective, aligned to the strategic, tactical, and operational levels, as well as some three key process indicators that are aligned. So if we look at top line growth, if you were to move from bottom to average performance, let's say, that'd be worth 1 to 2% increase in top line growth. And then average to mainstream, you get to 3 to 5%, and mainstream to best in class, you'll get up to the 5 to 10% area. So there's always room for growth, and CAGR is what it's all about, especially the big companies. That's what Wall Street likes. On the second level here is tactical demand management, higher turns, higher inventory turns than your tiers, especially with the product mixes that are out there that we talked about, a lot of different types of chips, a lot of different types of electronic packaging. If you are able to move from bottom to average, you'll gain that 5%, the average to mainstream 10%, and then the mainstream to best in class 20%. And then from the on time and full, from an operational supply chain processes perspective, you can see you can go all the way up to 90%, 97% improvement and on time and in full, which really you need to have very mature processes to be anywhere close to the 90 percentile range. With that, Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, you bet. Pretty compelling, folks. It's basically what we've seen over the years from companies as they improve their supply chain processes, especially with purpose-built ERP modules such as VAI. So that's what we've seen over the last couple of years.
And Dani, your comments?
I don't have a lot to add to it because you and Greg have covered it most, basically.
All right. Thanks, Dani. So how does this all come together? We really look at this as, best practices plus ERP really driving overall performance. If you're looking at it from you if you're sitting there with your executive team, you're saying, what is your vision, your mission, your goals? What is the infrastructure that you have in your company? And EIG, we have a host of partners that can help with that. And then we get into the best practices with Greg.
You bet. Again, our focus is to take a hard look at your current business processes. We evaluate your supply chain process maturity through the assessment tool. That helps you improve your financial strength and improve your competitive advantage. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dani.
The main issue that I see today is company having a legacy software, which prevents them from having real-time information of what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, and where is the inventory. With the VI software that has a total integration to the WM and to the warehouse management, financial, purchasing, and forecasting, it's a one-stop shopping that gives you total control of supply chain ability and what you need to do.
Thanks, Dani. So in summary, what we provide for you is, where do you want to go? Are you ready to get there? The readiness assessment. And then the closing with is how to get there with the VAI deployment. So again, we're looking to provide you that integrated business readiness program to maximize the ROI of implementing an ERP effective. With that, we're closing out the webinar. We hope that you found the information informative. If you have any further questions, please feel to reach out to us, any of us or all of us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And with that, we do have a webinar coming up on distribution logistics at the end of next month. And with that, so any closing comments from Dani?
I hope you found the webinar informative and we answer your questions. If you have any unanswered question, you can email us and we'll try to answer your questions best as possible.
Greg?
You bet. Thanks again. Thanks for attending. With all the challenges in this industry sector, we think it's more important than ever for this sector, you all in this sector, to understand your supply chain process maturity, validating supply chain strategy, your supply chain tactics, and your supply chain operations, coupled with a robust ERP set of modules such as VAI, can and will, according to us, ensure your survivability and be able to thrive in maybe a post-pandemic arena. So thanks again for attending.
Thanks, Greg. And just as a final closing, we assess your supply chain practices, where you're at, where do you want to be, align to your organization goals in your annual operating plan, which was coming up for next year. The assessment is a great tool to get you aligned. If you are doing an ERP or thinking about it, aligning the supply chain management practices and where you're at to that implementation will help you ensure that that implementation goes well. And again, communicate to gain that aligned, sustainable growth. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.